Andy, why is it important for coaches to have a philosophy when they're coaching?
Well, I think first of all you've got to understand, why am I here? Why are these children here? Why is my group here? What age are they at? Do they want to progress? So and I think the coach has got to understand the whole process and then have a bit of a belief on his own process and why he's fulfilling his role. And the better coaches really can see the bigger picture. They've got their own philosophy built in, which they've learnt and tuned over a period of time, really.
Do you think coaches change their approach to specific age groups of players?
Well, you've got to change your approach nearly to every group, whether it's the age of the players, the ability of the players. You have to be a different coach with different groups because they'll all have their own sort of behaviours, really. So you can't just say it's purely age. It has to be with whichever group you've got. You've got to understand what makes them tick, really.
Why is it important for players to take responsibility for their own learning and development?
Well, it's responsibility of everybody to take their own learning on board, whether it's the coach or the player, because we've all got to stand on our own 2 feet at some point, and if we understand our own thought process, we're probably going to make the right decisions at the right time, be that out in the middle as a player under pressure, or be that a coach who's got tough decisions to make. If we've got a philosophy, back to your earlier question, and we understand what's going on, we can see the bigger picture, hopefully the right decisions will be made at the right time.
What's your view about like a player-centred approach to coaching, and why do you think that might be important?
Well, to be honest, that's an easy answer. It's all about the player, isn't it? The player's out there in the middle. The player has to perform. The player has to realise, am I making the right decisions? If I'm not making the right decisions, how can I make the right decision? How can I execute my skills under these playing conditions? So it has to all be about the player. Certainly, the coach is there as a support network or a sounding board and offering advice, but the player has to make himself the player, really.
How have you seen coach development developing within Ireland?
Well, I've been involved now for about 14 years, more recently as a field-based trainer and as an assessor and as a tutor. And I have to say in the last sort of 6 years, really, they've progressed massively. The network has grown, the support has grown. It was obviously linked to the amount of finance and the amount of course that everybody's getting involved in. So I have to say we now have a wider network. We've got field-based trainers in place, a lot more activity basically.
In terms of the new changes in terms of coach education starting in September, what are the key messages from your point of view to talk about with other coaches and the main benefits of this new programme taking place?
Well, for me the key is about why. Why are we here? Why are we involved? Why are people playing cricket? Why are people wanting to get better? And how? So how are we going to do that? I think it's all about understanding again, and back to our philosophy. Yes, we want people out there producing the goods. How are we going to get them to do that? And why do we want to keep developing? Why do we want to keep improving what we're doing? You should never be happy with how things are. Things have always got to evolve, really.
What's your coaching philosophy?
My coaching philosophy is very much just keeping things simple, giving young players an opportunity to practice well in good facilities under good supervision, and giving them an avenue to improve, and just being a mentor and being an assistant to them in their learning process, and very much just it's all player centred. It's all about the player and them improving, and anything that we can offer to support that learning, we're doing our job as coaches.
What would be your coaching philosophy?
Hard work, absolutely hard work. There's no substitute for hard work. What else? Sacrifices as well. I think I'm lucky enough to be coaching at an elite level, and I just think there has to be some type of sacrifice if you're going to try and make it to the top. So that would be my coaching philosophy.
What would be your coaching philosophy?
First and foremost, it's got to be fun. It's got to be absolutely 100%. The people who you're with have to enjoy it. I think you've got to create something which is an environment which people are going to come back to all the time. You've got to almost sell like a product in terms of your own coaching style and your own coaching methods. I think in terms of empowering the players to come up with their own solutions to problems, put them in scenarios to say, right, or put them in challenges to say, right, you are such and such off such and such overs. How do you get out of this, or how do you build from there? Allowing people to make mistakes, and allow them to learn from those mistakes as well. Don't go too hard and say, look, you've made a mistake here, or you've maybe fallen down here. What can you do to sort of recover that, or how can you sort of progress that for next time? And also from my point of view, to sort of be a good role model, a good mentor to the people who I'm coaching, to provide them not just help on the pitch but off the pitch as well, and sort of be that sort of friend that you can have build those relationships with. I think is key to it.
What's your coaching philosophy?
Quite simple, really. Challenge and support. I think to create environments where players are challenged, I think is undoubtedly the best way for them to learn, and then support them in those environments. So it's nothing greater or much deeper than that. Simply challenge and support.
Pete, what is your coaching philosophy in a performance environment?
I think probably myself and Phil Simmons, the environment we try to create and the philosophy we probably have is, something Phil often says, which I totally agree with, is practice hard and play easy. So we try and create that environment where fear of failure isn't obviously, it can go out the window. So in terms of my philosophy, I guess it's I like players to focus on their strengths a lot rather than their weaknesses. So it's reinforcing players and almost working around what a player's strengths are. You can make them a bowler fit, for example, as long as his action's safe, but it might be a little bit different, working with the strength and conditioning and trying to build that fitness around that action potentially, to make sure that there is no breakdown or certainly limit injuries. So I think it's probably looking for a player's strengths rather than weaknesses, trying to build on them, but obviously address weaknesses as well. But for me personally, I tend to look at what a player's strengths are and try and build on that. So many different styles of players out there, and each one can work effectively in certain roles.
How important is it to have values and beliefs as a coach, and how much of an impact do you think you have on other players within the environment that you're coaching?
Yeah, no, I think it is very important. For any player coming through the ranks, as long as the coach you have is responsible, he's honest, a certain amount of integrity, and that he values everyone within the squad, throughout the team, no matter what they do. I think that creates a good environment as long as there's respect for everyone within the team. That includes staff. I think for a player looking up to that, it's important.
What would be your coaching philosophy?
My coaching philosophy is I try and keep it as simple as possible. Even at the age group I'm working with, there's got to be a sense of fun. There's got to be a sense of enjoyment. There's also got to be a challenge for the players. Every day they come in, they've got to be challenged. But if they can leave the centre where they've been working indoors or outdoors, and they leave with a smile on their face, I think that's part of a coach's job as well. It's about the player. One size doesn't fit all. All players are different. They all learn differently. So getting to know your player and how you can get the best out of that player. But at the end of the day, it's got to be player-centred.